it's something that's kind of boiling out there right now with the debt limit, is a balanced budget amendment that is so-called clean or straight up, or however you want to do it. No supermajority for taxes, no spending limit attached, a supermajority to override clearly, but otherwise just a straight balanced budget amendment. In each of your opinions, is that a worthy thing to have? Does it help the situation or not? I'll start with you, Dr. Miller.
Yes.
Well, that was quick. Dr. Mitchell?
I'll be a little bit more loquacious. It's a double-edged sword. One of the reasons I like Senator Lee's balanced budget amendment is because it actually, in reality, is more of a spending limit amendment, and it's just called a balanced budget amendment because that's one of the features it has. I do worry if you look at, we have 49 out of 50 states with balanced budget requirements of some kind. That obviously hasn't stopped some states from taxing and spending themselves into a fiscal ditch. There are
that would include my home state of California.
I wasn't going to point that out, but you're willing to say so.
I point it out all the time. So.
The Maastricht criteria in Europe, where these rules for 3% of GDP deficits and 60% of GDP debt, that hasn't stopped the Europeans from taxing and spending themselves into fiscal crisis. So just a plain vanilla, watered-down, balanced budget amendment, yeah, in my gloomier, pessimistic moments, I worry that would be seen as, oh, we have a constitutional obligation to raise taxes, which I think would simply be like a dog chasing its tail. So I'm leery about that, but I can certainly think that, well, if we did nothing else, maybe we have no choice but to do that, but it's not my preference.
Okay. Dr. Reischauer.
Yeah, it won't surprise you that my answer to the question is no. One reason why I would say that, certainly better than the alternatives, but still not acceptable in my view. A balanced budget amendment to get through the Congress to define all of the issues that I talked about and to be ratified by the states probably wouldn't come into force until around 2020, which I think is long after we have to settle this set of issues. And were we to and pass through the Congress a balanced budget amendment, the tendency of legislators, I think, would be to say, well, we've done that. Let's relax. And international markets are not going to let us relax. We have to face up to this issue in the next year or two.
And I couldn't agree with you more on that point. However, I would love to think that this will be the last fiscal crisis the country will ever have. However, but I think that is not likely to be the case. So, just for what it's worth, I mean, you're right. It wouldn't have any impact. We're going to. In my view, we're dealing with statutory debt limit. I talk about the real debt limit, which is the point out there at which markets no longer will buy our debt except at a severely higher interest rate. And unless we make progress on the real debt limit soon, the statutory debt limit is not going to matter very much over time. But you're right. We have to solve this problem much quicker than that. But it would at least maybe help future crises, future Congresses from getting to this point in decades ahead from now. I will yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Congressman. Representative Maloney.
I'd like to ask all